Alright. Alright, testing. Yeah. Hello everyone, this is Maximus Sage, or Maximus Reborn. I go by a few variants of that. Joined by the one and only Changeling number 32. Say hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
there you are. Alright. I do apologize. This is our second time having to do this. I was uploading this, but the file got corrupted. And it just completely was unsalvageable, and I hate myself and my computer for that. I don't know if that's ever happened to anyone. I'm pretty sure it has. It already doesn't help. I'm not really a tech savvy guy to begin with. I'm about as straightforward as you can get. It's like, please just give me steps 1, 2, and 3. Don't tell me anything beyond that. So I do apologize, but we'll make up for it with this one. How have you been, Changeling?
Oh, good, man. It's just got back from Tennessee.
Oh, I bet that was fun.
Oh yeah. It's pretty warm down there.
Yeah. Yeah,
sure. It's getting nice up here too, I guess.
That's good. That's good, because I know, yeah, like you said, Tennessee, yeah, it's warm for us. We've been in the 80s, but it's only going to get warmer from here. We're just warming up, so you're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. Just try coming down here like during like June, July. It's miserable, even for us. Oh, shit. Hey, just subscribed for 50 months. Holy crap.
That's right. You too can subscribe to Maximus Sage. Feel good about yourself. They're doing
it. Hey. Well, we appreciate that. Let's see if this is working out properly since I've updated it. I may have to relink. Okay. Wait. Oh no.
Oh, there it is.
This is a good one.
Grab your meat already. We don't have all day.
You can't rush a man when he's messing with his meat.
Tenderize it a bit.
No. Please no. All right. Well, let's see. All right. Well, that's working, so I don't have to worry about that. All right. Let's get started. And if I remember any other side questions, I will address that.
We can always take a look at the old thread and see if we... Yeah, so I'll start with a new thread.
Alright. Because let's see. Let me open up my phone. Because I will answer every question as best I can without going too deep into spoilers. The best spoilers I can address are the one... Because I have a lot of... I've already got artwork ready. Mainly cover arts and whatnot. But okay, here we go. All right, first question is from Killer3803 Jr. Okay. Will Peter use other gadgets such as his many web variants? Flame web used against symbiotes. I remember that. That was in the PlayStation N64 game. Ice web used against Human Torch once. Ricochet webs, acid webs used against Sandman. Yeah, I don't even know about that one. Lead line web, radioactive material, etc. He's definitely gonna be using other gadgets. In terms of the web variants, it honestly will depend. But he's already using other gadgets like say the impact web. Doc Ock gave him that like way back in. I think that was part 2 or 3 that happened. My memory's a little vague on that one. and he's spoiler if you haven't already read the Mysterio episode, he's already using the holographic tech from that, so he's gonna constantly, you know, be upgrading when it comes to his gadgets and whatnot. So yeah, like a video game logic. Yes.
I got a question. So it's like there's a lot of stuff to keep track of in terms of like the Spider-Man lore. How often do you find yourself like going on the Wikipedia to fact check yourself?
A lot, because especially like right now, since I'm drawing more inspiration from the older material, more so. Well, I am borrowing from the newer material. I mean, let's face it, there's like well over 50 years worth of material to work with when it comes to Spider-Man. Not even mentioning you got the mainline stuff, then you got all the other stuff. Like you got the video game material, you've got other universes. You got like the Ultimate Universe, the Amazing Universe, the Spectacular Universe. That's not even mentioning like we have like what 3 universes now in terms of the cinematic universe. You got MCU, you got classic Sony with like Toby, you got the Andrew verse, that's, you know, and then you got the animated stuff. There's a lot. There's honestly a lot. So yeah, I definitely kind of have to, especially if I want to reference it or use it for like say material and whatnot. But to kind of answer another question that I do remember, where I could, what does this universe have more in common with? If I had to say like top 3, I say Spectacular. If you haven't watched that cartoon, I highly suggest it. It's honestly one of, if not the best, in terms of the animated lore. A little bit of Ultimate, like the original Ultimate run, not the Ultimate run that's going on in comics now, but the original Ultimate Comics run that ran for like well over a decade before it got canned, or more so before that version of Peter got replaced with Miles Morales. But that's a whole nother can of worms. Hey, little mouse, Spectacular Spider-Man is spectacular. You goddamn right. But if I say top 3, Spectacular, some MCU, and Ultimate. I say those would probably be like the 3 biggest. Well, take MCU out, and I say more the 60s to mid 80s Steve Ditko era, especially in terms of like personality, particularly when it comes to Peter, because I think it's taken a lot of people off guard, and it's why a lot of people give me a lot of flack as to why the girls don't get along with Peter. It's kind of because if you go back and read the original materials from like the 60s to the 80s, the Steve Ditko era, Peter was a dick in many ways. He was an asshole back in the day, and to me, it's kind of refreshing. But from what I read with you and everyone else, they do kind of like, well, not kind of that. This Peter he's different, but he's very popular, kind of because of how different he is from like say his mainstream counterparts. Whereas I love his mainstream counterparts. Don't get me wrong. Like Toby is probably one of the best examples of the puppy dog Peter. Well, just the one who just has so much shit go against him, but he kind of just grins and takes it. Steve Ditko era Peter, he wasn't about that. If you talk shit to him, he'd throw it right back at you. But getting off topic. Do you have any other questions at the moment before we move on to the next one? Let's swap. Oh, you haven't wanted attention all day. Why are you hassling me? There we go. All right. You still good? You still on mic?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Just making sure.
I just for funsies, I replied to everybody in that comment section, telling them that you're live right now.
Oh, appreciate
You
that.
should be able to get a little notification. And let's see.
All
You
right.
should see a couple more people show up.
All right. Well, that'd be good. All right, so we can take our time. All right, while I went on that rant. Okay, on the topic of Venom, this is still from Killer 308 or 3803 Junior, excuse me. On the topic of Venom, will the anti-Venom suit come into play like in Marvel Spider-Man 2? I can't say anything about that, but we are kind of giving tiny references to that right from the rip. Would say Doc Ock, because you know that, because, and again, I kind of say it's funny that people are so worried about Twilight saying like, oh, well, she wants to pick and prod him. She doesn't want to do that. She's scientifically curious, which is in line with her character. That she's just more curious about how he ticks. Whereas we've had Doc Ock for like several episodes now getting genetic samplings out of Pete and whatnot. And Pete's not happy about it half of the time. But people say he consented. He did, but we're kind of laying it out there that Doc's kind of got the mad scientist thing going. But he gets a pass. I don't know. It's weird. But in terms of anti-Venom, I can't say anything about that yet, but we are teasing something in regards to that. Another question from Killer 3803 Jr. Will Peter gain more powers like those of the others, such as the Venom, the Stingers, and such? Yes, we are. And it may have already gotten lost, but go if you when you can, go back and read the aftermath of the Man Spider episode, because with the Man Spider episode, Peter, he's already noticed like small pouches, or rather the scar tissue right there on his wrist, already kind of teasing that he's gonna have organic webbing at some point. That's just the aftermath of the Man Spider arc. So he's got that. He's got scar tissue going on the back of his wrist. And he's got heightened senses right from that. But all that's going to get addressed. So definitely he's going to gain some more powers because of the aftermath of his genetic mutation. Yeah. So, hey, right? Little Mouse is right. Hey, my boy gets stabbed with needles every other day. I mean, he really does. I mean, but at the same time, we have to remember, if Doc wasn't doing that, Peter wouldn't have gotten cured from the Man Spider arc. But that's also another seed that, why did he know what to do? A little bit of foreshadowing there. But, of course, let's face it, it's Doc Ock. We all know there's something bad is going to happen. Come on. I like...
The biggest twist of them all. He wants to be a good guy throughout the whole thing.
I mean, that's also true. That we could just pull a swerve and just say, yeah, you thought it was going to be Dr. Octopus all along, but we all know it's going to be Rarity this whole time. Suckers. But, alright, from Little Mouse, I like that little detail at the end of that episode. I always felt Spider-Man getting organic webbing should be something he should be able to do at some point. And I do agree with that. Like, because I got spoiled on that just mainly because of how it worked in, say, the Tobey Maguire movies. Where I felt, this just feels natural. And the comics ended up, doing the other right after that. To where there was a time in the books that he was able to do that, and it just felt right. So, yeah, like, he's going to get organic webbing at some point. But for right now, he's still, using the web shooters and whatnot. So he's getting that upgrade. Same thing with the Stingers and all that. He's already got the upgraded spider sense. So, we're just hinting at small things. Alright. Let's see. And will we have a Spidey crash out? A la... Well, hang on. Oh, I can't pull it up here. I could technically.
You have to recite the whole thing from memory.
But that's the thing. I can't. I don't have Christopher Barnes' voice. He's basically, shocker! You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth! See, I can't do it justice. But.
I'm afraid if I do, I'm gonna scare the neighbors.
That's it. Like I said, we'll pull up the. I'm gonna pull up the. I'll redeem the line. Oh.
Shoot.
Right. That's one of the free ones, I think. Yeah. Alright, because I got my list right here. There it is.
You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
He's definitely gonna have some crash out, so don't you worry. He's definitely. Of course, it's vicious. And we drink for every donation, so thank you, Vicious. Oh my God.
I'm not getting drunk at 4:30 in the afternoon.
I mean, it's Sunday and I'm off. That's 50, that's a lot, so let's. But these are my favorite versions, except Rusty. At the best part. Stop. Alright, thank you for that. Alright, let's give you. Wow, every time I try to shout you out.
Yeah, it breaks. Maybe just pass on it. I don't know.
Right now. We'll wait. Right. I'll redeem you at the end of the stream because for some reason, yeah, I mean, this has been going on for a while. All right. Well, we did. You know what? We did update the shout out thing. He's if it still breaks, I don't know what to tell you, man. 06. Hey, Solar Storm. Glad you make it. Oh shit! There it is. This is real firepower. Oh, have you guys had a chance to try out Emma yet?
I did.
How you feel about her?
It's pretty good. She feels a lot like Ramatra.
Ah, okay.
Very similar vibes. If you like that play style, you'll love Emma.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be playing that a little bit later. When the DP What's that about? We gotta expand that a little bit. Yeah. Hey team! Enjoy the amplifier! Yeah. Alright, so we'll try her out. Alright, so let's start. I'm a fan of the Daredevil. That's always good. Have you been watching, have you been keeping up with the series? I'm still getting on Change. He still has to watch the other seasons.
I know, I stopped in the middle of season 3 for some reason. I don't know why.
Ah, man.
I gotta pick up Disney Plus again.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Like if I get it in my store, I'll just mail you everything.
Oh boy.
All right. So one quick: if Peter has organic webbing, would its essential crisis block his webbing? If he gets it by then, possibly. Like cause I do intend to do a because some of you may or may not know, it's my favorite Spider-Man story of all time is Spider-Man No More, and Spider-Man 2 is a pretty good retelling of that. So I do intend to have that happen to Pete at some point. But what's going to be the thing that causes it to happen, since he's already getting the shit in deal of a lot? Premature evacuation. Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Premature ewebulation.
I know, it's so goddamn.
Watching the vibe.
That's so bad. I hate you. Ah.
You know what happens to people of a certain age. You know?
Shut up! Don't you encourage this. He's a teenager, damn it. He's barely a teenager. Stop. You did not want to play until now. Chill out. We've been outside playing. Chill. How'd you even bring that inside? I thought you left that outside. Let's see. When Jameson wore his car. Oh yeah, you watching Daredevil. Peter goes to the world of magic and ponies. Does his webbing become magic too? That was in the first story. It technically was. It was technically magic. That was the only magic he could use, technically, in the first one. As a Catholic, I find a lot of sympathy and relation towards Daredevil. People forget. Well, it's easy to. Well, I don't see how it's easy to forget. That's one of the biggest aspects of his character is that he's Catholic and very religious. So, his whole no-kill rule, makes sense in that regard. But, alright, let's pull it back up. Okay. Alright. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Then, more folks are showing up all of a sudden. Alright, remember, if you have any questions, feel free to post them here or join our chat, whichever. Okay, from Danny Ram 1308. Do you think that by the time Peter gets along better with Rarity, you can make a plot similar to the one Peter had with Liz in the Electro chapter? All right, he's talking about the Spectacular series there, because you haven't watched the Spectacular series, but yeah, him and Liz, like, she started out pretty much bullying him, but they end up pretty much forming a bond to where she actually developed a pretty big crush on the guy up until, he started developing feelings for Gwen, and they broke it off. But it definitely won't be romantic, but that's a good question. I don't know. I kind of have a lot of pots right now cooking. Rarity, she's one of the ones that I do want her to have her character development moment. Oh, that's right, and we have to readdress that question. That all of the girls seem like they have a villain that they're tied to. Like, say, Rainbow Dash is going to have Electro, aka Lightning Dust. Sunset basically is going to have her human counterpart to deal with, who's the equivalent of a Jean Grey / Phoenix. Fluttershy has already had hers, that being Kraven, which makes sense since, she's the animal lover and Kraven's the hunter. So we have that. Applejack, and these aren't really spoilers, there's cover arts for these characters. Applejack's gonna have Rhino. Sidetwy it just makes sense. It's going to be Doc Ock whenever we, cross that road. And there's 2 I'm missing. We have Rarity. Oh, and Pinky. Pinky is pretty much going to be Sandman. Since, family of rocks, and what's Sandman? He's sand. As, it's granulated rocks. So that just, makes sense. And, yeah. And we really couldn't answer this the last time, but what was Rarity? And we sat and thought about it, and we're still kind of thinking about what would Rarity's villain be? A villain that would, make sense and ties to her character. We can either go the Diamond route, or we could go her arachnophobia route. So that's still one of those that it's still kind of up in the air.
Leave your suggestions down in the comments down below.
What he said. What he said. I mean, I thought about it. It could be the Diamond Dogs, technically, even though I technically already have a plan for them. Funny enough. Yeah, Rarity, she's still kind of up in the air, but like Changeling said, if you guys have any suggestions, consider that. And if you see my mouth constantly doing that, I do apologize about that. It's mainly because this is probably the biggest my mustache has ever grown, and I've got OCD to where I'm just constantly feeling hairs right there at the corner of my lip, and it's driving me nuts. So I'm contemplating on. It's about time. I haven't shaved since since November. Yeah, so it's been a while. Trim that mustache, boy. Make me, damn it. Oh, that's right, Changeling. For that resub, I gotta go ahead and kill the rest of that because you resubbed.
Okay.
Shit. And I mean, hey guys, it's Sunday, so if you donate any bits or you sub, we drink, and it's a celebration. Is that I do apologize for not streaming as of late. I'm pretty much in the last 3 weeks of school. I'm also teaching. I've got 4 jobs, 4 as of right now. And I'm an introvert that all of my jobs I'm forced to just interact with people. So by the time I usually get home, I'm just completely done with everything. I feel that. Yeah. Solar Storm. If Peter becomes a prince, I guess Matt Murdock will likely become a DA, Chief of Justice. I mean, yeah. Wouldn't Trixie be a better Liz since her dad was a villain and rude to him? Well, that's the thing. With Trixie, she's probably one of the more complicated characters that we've got going right now. In a good way. Like, she's got her arc with her dad. And don't forget, she's got a mom that seemingly just hates everything. And uses magic, so you got that. So we got a lot of stuff planned for Trixie. She's pretty much long-term aspirations right now. And Trixie's aftermath reminded me of Homecoming. That was the intent. That in terms of that she had a very bittersweet moment. But unlike Liz, she hasn't moved. So it's a case of like, what if, Liz was forced to stay, but things just became more complicated with her and Pete. That's the way I'm kind of viewing how Trixie's going right now. Or let me get Sci-Twi, Alistair Smythe, Robot Man. All of those are possible as well. Especially with Alistair Smythe. That actually fits Twilight also, because some people don't really know it, but she actually excels when it comes to like engineering and robotics, because technically in Equestria Girl, she made like what, a robotic dog. so she excels when it comes to that. So yeah, we can definitely expand upon that. I wouldn't be against it. Now see, Dr. Connors, we haven't seen much of him yet, but we all know he's gonna have some implications. There you go. One class said, "Fuck your spring break." He gave us our midterm. Hey, right? Hey, I know that feeling. So I'll just be glad when the semester's over. Best thing I can say about my semester right now, I'm dead tired, but so far I've got technically 5 A's right now. 5. Just thank you. But like I said, I'm tired, and I'm especially math. Math is the one where I'm just stunned that I have a 98 in it right now. But I got 2 tests left on that too, and honestly, I could just stop showing up right now, and I think I'd make it out with a C. But you know, we're not gonna do that. Thank you. I appreciate that. So it's side twite alternate is Dr. Connor, Smythe, or Jack. I think Twi is another one of those that's it's a bit more complicated. Because I know right now, in terms of my readers, Sci-Twi is probably the most hated. Like, it's between her and Rainbow. They're like the 2 most hated characters right now. Mainly because everyone keeps vilifying, like they're saying like they're both incredibly wrong for what they're doing and how they feel. And that kind of puzzles me a little bit. They say like they're like really out of character. And I'm more like, are they though? Are they though? Because one thing I thought about, and I didn't think about this the last time. What is one thing that tends to happen in MLP lore that always happens that we all kind of just accept, but sometimes it gets ridiculous? The fact that everyone is quickly forgiven, per se, no matter how egregious their crimes are. Like, say, Sunflower. Who the hell is Sunflower? I meant Sunset, damn it. Combine her and Wallflower somehow. Sunset was like what? The school bully, an absolute terror for like what? A year? Then she gets called out, she becomes a succubus, she destroys part of the school, just heavy collateral, but she's allowed to stay. Everyone kind of just forgives her. Everyone's like, alright, but I hope you learned your lesson. Okay, she didn't have to pay a fine or anything. She wasn't suspended. She wasn't, had to go to juvie or anything like that. No, just forgiven.
No community service.
None of that. Exactly, none of that. But
yeah, excellent lawyer.
Yeah, right. But again, this is one of those things that I'm addressing in basically the upcoming story that's about to get posted. Oh yeah, all that happened. It just happened to the wrong person. But that's also because we're in a world that's a bit more cynical, and people tend to forget that these characters aren't quite as forgiving. It's because we're mixing a little bit of that Marvel lore into it. That, a little bit of that real life lore into it. So instead of everyone being as forgiving, there's a little bit more cynicism going on. Though granted, the area that they're in is cut off. So of course, they're allowed to be a bit more, to still be a bit more, free and free-spirited, all that good stuff, which, that got addressed in chapter 4, with all the magical shit going on. They still, treated it like an isolated incident. Even if you think about it, that was one of those cases that the bad guy, that being Cinch, was completely justified. She's like, hold on now, you guys are using magic. That shit's cheating. What are you doing? But everyone's like, oh, well, no one's gonna believe you and whatnot. And they spun it around on her, and I'm like, I don't know, guys. She kind of has a point, don't you think? But again, my point being that why do girls treat Peter so bad? And I say it's a case of, well, he's kind of a dick to them, but at the same time, you want to know the difference between Peter and every other villain in MLP so far? Every time the bad guys are confronted and the girls say, hey, what you did was wrong, and you're like, you know what, you're right, I'm sorry. All right, then when they move on. You want to know what Peter did? He doubled down and basically said, yeah, you know what? No, screw you guys. I don't feel like apologizing. That alone is already different. They're not used to that. They're like, hey, wait a minute. Usually people kind of feel bad and they apologize when we confront them. You remember what happened that when they had their face-to-face, Peter had a chance to apologize or even, try to explain the situation. He didn't. If anything, he doubled down and just started insulting them right back. Like, what do you do in that sense? But people still say, oh, the girls are being unreasonable. They're really not. But again, this is the kind of why I went with Steve Ditko era Pete. This is how he was. He was prideful. The dude was never the first to apologize. If anything, he had tendencies of doubling down. Instead of saying, oh, you're right, guys. I'm sorry. Now, you know what? I'm not wrong. You're wrong. But yeah, that's more so the case. Like, why the girls are having such a hard time. It's not so much they're out of character. I think their characters just don't know what to do in this situation. That when you apologize. Because even like say the Wallflower Blush situation, that is canon. Because I forgot which user got on my case and said, "Oh, you're using the worst aspects of their character." And whatnot, when I bring up like say the Anonymous episode, I said, oh, that's just a horribly written episode, and I'm not saying it's not, but it happened though. So why not use that and say, I'm not saying it's a baseline of their characters, but it just shows that their characters aren't as they're not as perfect as you think. They have moments where things are bad. Hey, if I could do that with Peter, I'd do that. Because you know how much shit I can sort through with Peter. Say, some of the worst writing moments for Peter. One More Day, Clone Saga, Sins Past. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The Zeb Wells run we had as of late. There's so much I could borrow. Just say, okay, you know what? What if we use this for Pete? Just some of his worst moments and make that the baseline of his character. No one would, right? But that's not my intention. My intention is that, I'm not saying this is the baseline of the characters, but it just shows that these characters have their moments. It's like us. Of course, let's say like that one really bad day that we have. Would you say, I finally lash out at a child, say at school and whatnot, because they wouldn't listen? Is that the baseline of my character? I'm patient 364 days of the year, but I have that one really, really bad day and I finally yell. Is that a baseline for my character? No, it's not. But it's a moment that I had and, I own up to it. Am I proud of it? No. But it happens. That's how I like to look at it with bad writing moments with, say, these characters. I'm not going to ignore them and say they didn't happen. Do they suck? Oh, absolutely. I'm not going to make them the baseline of the character. I'm just going to look at it and say, that character had a one really bad day. Because they're human. And I think that's where the misconception comes in with the way the girls are right now. Because with the girls right now in the story, I'm getting a lot of people say, oh, they're really out of character and whatnot. When I say they're really not. You guys are acting like they're around Peter every single day. They're not. Like, if anything, they've only spent like a total of like, say, 10 minutes with each other. And what has Peter done every single time they've interacted, whether it's as Spider-Man or Peter Parker? He's been a dick towards them. Like I say, they tried to apologize. They say they tried to talk to him. They, just try to make civil conversation with him. What does he do? He makes fun of their names. Granted, they put him on the spot, and that's what he does. He puts his foot in his mouth. But first impressions are everything. That's just a fact. When someone does something really bad the first time you meet them, that sticks. That shit sticks. And it takes a while for, that to like be, null and void. So that's it. That was one incident. Then, you got several other incidents where every time they interact with them, he's either dismissing them or he's running off. Which, that's a Peter Parker thing. Especially in Steve Ditko era, where one of his biggest flaws as a character was that he wouldn't interact with them. Like anytime, like he would even get invited to like say events. This was a guy who found excuses to not interact with you. He's like, oh, I got this to do, I got that to do, I gotta study, I gotta do this. We've all had those moments, right? To where, sometimes you get invited to an event and you look for an excuse to not go. That's Peter. And it makes him look like a dick. And he gets called out for that in the book, saying, oh shit, we got a new follow. Thank you so much. Oh my God, I owe you a drink. Okay, Alright, so me ranting to the side. Let me grab another drink and we will address the next question.
Yeah.
I am.
We've settled that particular query.
Yeah.
So I'll probably avoid that the next time it comes up.
Very true. Very true. All right. That's not the drink. That was water because I am trying to not be too plastered. All right. So let me make another drink. Alright, we're back. Thank y'all. That's brandy. That is brandy and Dr. Pepper. So, thank you for that follow. Oh, that's good letdown. Alright. Alright, so the storm. Of course, Peter isn't social. It's New York. You can't trust anybody. Okay, thank you, Solar Storm, for bringing that up. Before we just move on, people also have to remember, you add in the fact that, Peter's already, a fish out of water. Where is this guy from? Fucking New York. Of course he's going to be an asshole compared to everyone else. People forget that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's a New Yorker. Let's face it. Do you usually hear about nice New Yorkers? Not really. Yep. All right. From Fluffy Boy. Will Peter ever find love for reals? Yeah, he will. You will, eventually. Like, and it's right there in plain sight. It's right there. He just doesn't know it yet. I mean, and to be fair, the dude is already beloved. Because as much as I'm addressing this, and the main reason I went on a long rant, alcohol aside, is because a lot of readers tend to think, for some reason, that Peter just has it so bad that this is the worst he's ever been treated. And I'm like, really? The dude he's pretty loved, if you really think about it. Let's see, he's got two big-time heroes that really like him and respect him, that being Wolverine and Doctor Strange. They both already really like the guy. Then we have Spitfire, who, right now, that was the Vulture, who's, the Falcon right now. Loves him. He's got a great social, he's got the Loser Brigade, a group of losers. He's not really alone. Then you got Aunt May. He does have to worry about, keeping things a secret from her, which, that's one of the biggest hurdles that he usually has to deal with in comics. But he doesn't have to worry about that. And like I said, he's got his friends. The whole reason why the main Sits aren't really friends with him is because he has his own group. Yeah, Trixie, granted, they have a complicated relationship. He has Sunset. He has Arya. He has Derpy. Derpy freaking cooks muffins for him every day. That's a good friend. You have Eris, who's flirty, but, she's super friendly towards him. Then there's a bonus member that's coming. He has friends. That alone already makes things so much better than his usual self, because let's look at Toby. Toby he had Mary Jane, but they had a relationship, and he had Harry before they had their falling out over his dad. But other than that, he was living in an apartment alone, barely able to make rent. Oh sure, my Peter's got a roof over his head and an aunt that loves him. And even has Fury, who, granted, is a troll towards him, but he's friendly towards him. I don't know what to tell you guys. But yeah, he'll find love. He'll find love. Rant over. I keep going on these rants. Blame the alcohol.
I think. All right, so no more addressing the, the allegations. Relationship.
I don't know. Peter's never beaten the allegations at this rate.
Let's get on to the I think the next one was about the
Idcom.
What?
It looks like from Idcom. Yeah, it's like let's see, Fluffy Boy. Okay, Idcom. Let's see. How will Main Sunset? Oh yeah, like how will Main Sunset, the native sunset of the human world, impact Sunset's role and her place living in the human world going forward? That's a good question. But I can't say too much yet, mainly because that story is happening right now. That's literally what we're going to address. Because there's going to be, but I will say there's going to be huge implications for that. In terms of like how Peter prescribes her, how everyone views her, how her friends view her. Like, yeah, pretty much the next 2 episodes, that being Main Sunset, basically Sunset. It's the Sunset Shimmer show. The next 2 episodes, so yeah. So I can't say too much about that yet, but there's huge implications. There's gonna be a huge fallout from that, both positively and negatively. So I can just leave it at that. Little mouse. Yeah, Toby's Peter had it rough. He did. Oh yeah, Derpy. Oh, speaking of Toby, Muffins reminds me of Ursula, the apartment girl who offers chocolate cake. I'm glad you noticed that, because that's exactly who Derpy is more based on, or I draw some inspiration from. For those who don't know, Ursula, that's the girl, who treated Peter pretty decently in Spider-Man 2 and 3, who clearly had the hots for him because she was constantly looking out for him when he was borderline about to be homeless. Yeah, that's what Derpy's character is heavily based on. Just a girl who just like even when she knows that he's into someone else, she still treats him pretty great. Honestly, he honestly fumbled the bag with that girl. If I'm being frank, but that's neither here or there. Okay, and what of the original Spider? Oh, this is also from EdCom. What of the original Spiders and Magic Equestria? The statue portal is connected, which only Sunset and Princess Twilight are permitted to use. That already has its own Sunset Shimmer. Will she ever discover that? No, like she will not. We don't have to worry about another Sunset Shimmer popping up. I figure just these two. That's enough to go down. Because the main reason I'm addressing that is because it's one of those things that I've constantly read about. No one really tackles that subject. I mean, in terms of Equestria Girls lore, like we always talk about Twilight. We have Equestria Twilight and we have Satwai, but we never address Sunset Shimmer or her human counterpart. That's one of those things I thought about. I'm like, that's pretty interesting. No one really talks about that. So
yeah, I think I showed you a tweet, but that was going to be the premise of the last movie before it got canceled.
Really?
Yeah, one of the writers was like, yeah, this is gonna be our big finale, but
Oh, that would have been cool. Okay, damn. Yeah, because that's one of the biggest. That's one of those biggest unknowns that Wow. So so it was gonna get addressed, but because the series basically ended, they dropped it. Wow. Damn.
You're finishing the fight here.
All right. That's good to know then. Little Mouse. Damn, we were robbed. We were, because I would have been totally on board with that. Because that's one of those things that, again, they you tease with the whole Satwai and Twilight bit, especially with how radically different their characters are. Like, yeah, it's like, what's going on with the the human Sunset? But hey, well, all right. Well, I'm glad. All right. Okay, I'm doing my part then.
Yeah. Hasbro is really terrible with just like, we're just gonna stop now. It's fine.
But why though? Like,
I don't know. They're just like, yeah, we're not making enough money. Just cut it. Who cares? Who needs closure?
I mean, you sure? I mean, we put like 10 years into the series. Are you sure? All right.
I think they did the same thing with G5 recently. I think that recently kind of just ended unceremoniously.
It ended?
Yeah.
I thought
they stopped making shorts for it.
Oh, you got to be kidding me! Seriously? Stop.
Yeah, I think they're still doing comics though. I think for both G4 and G5, they're still comics, but for the animated stuff, it's kind of like it's.
I guess we're on the Gen 6 then. I guess shit.
Yeah, look forward to that.
All right. Damn. All right. That's unfortunate. Like, will any poor soul end up falling into the statue portal like Matt Murray? No, like for the most part, we don't have to worry about that. The only thing we do have to worry about are portals opening up and things coming out of it. But, that's what Strange alluded to before, the last time we saw him. That was episode 4, where he basically alluded that you basically opened up this world to outsiders. So now we're finally getting the blowback to that, since not really a spoiler if you read the previous episode, but we got the Venom symbiote here now. We're pretty much going to be dealing with Sentinels from another reality coming in. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're opening that up. I mean, hell, Spider Knight was an example when he popped up, so, and the Yeti popped in, so no souls are going to be falling into portals per se, but souls are going to be coming out of portals, if that makes sense. They're basically going to be, they're going to be getting invaded. So that's what's going on more with that. All right. Another one from EdCom. Will the seemingly recurring dimensional tears in reality, such as the Venom symbiote came through, from, and that's presumably how the Sentinel for the next story comes through be addressed? If so, would that be built into a potential story arc? Pretty much yes. Like I literally just said, that's pretty much going to be a recurrent thing for a while. Stop. You did not want to play, but now you want to play. Stop it. Chill out. Thank you. You're doing too much. It's only when I start talking to them that you suddenly want to start doing this. You do this all the time. Chill out. Go in your kennel. Thank you. Thank you. You're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. I feel you do this on purpose. Thank you. You can just lay there. That's fine too. He's my dumbass son. I can yell at him. Oh, okay, let's change it up.
Why did I miss?
Oh, hey, Marvel. Not too much. We're just, we're more so it's kind of just starting. I've gone on a couple of rants here and there. But other than that, we're still answering questions. We have some questions popping up in the chat. But other than that, you haven't missed too much.
Oh, did you answer? What would happen when we'll see Adagio and Sonata again?
Okay, Adagio we will see semi-regularly because it has been hinted at she's basically attending the school now. She's a student, and she's basically latched onto the arm of Flash Thompson. So she's still there. We've only seen her once, but we'll see more of her. Sonata, it's a bit of a fun twist. Like, we will see her again, but not too much of a spoiler, but she's mainly at Feast for right now, and she's got another side hobby. So Sonata is basically kind of doing her own thing right now. Whereas she's basically like, you know what, I don't feel like doing this anymore. I'm just going to kind of do my own thing. Like I said, that's not even so much a big spoiler, but it's just more of a kind of a fun thing that she's basically working at Feast with Aunt May. She's basically Aunt May's assistant at Feast, and she has a side job. But that side job will be a fun little Easter egg when we address it. Yeah. So that'll get addressed. All right, what you got, Solar Storm? Do you think Sunset's group are superheroes? Because Dash says they are, but they only saved reality once. But they only stopped events that were street level and easily avoidable. Like in movie magic, a simple thief easily outmaneuvered them. That's that.
Truth is a superhero. What does that even mean? Like,
But to be fair, that's a great point. But remember, this also kind of does tie into like what happened in the previous story, like basically how Spider-Man completely trounced them, and they addressed that. They addressed that as to them just having a severe lack of experience. So here's where things are going to start differentiating. They do want to do better. At least half of the group does. Whereas the other half of the group really doesn't want anything to do with it. Like, say, Fluttershy, for example. She doesn't want that attention. But, you know, her friends are there. You know, she'll tag along in that regard. Sunset's kind of just there. Same thing with Applejack. It's mainly more Rainbow Dash, and everyone's kind of going along for the ride, you can say. But I can see, because in the universe that they're in, that they do want to aspire to be more. So, them becoming superheroes, I think I would like to address it and say, yeah, they're going to try. But there's going to be severe blowback due to several situations. Like, one, them not having secret identities. That's automatically going to be like the big thing that blows up in their face. And two, them being very situational and whatnot, because this is one of those things that me and Marvel here have talked about, and we led in with like small examples. Like, you know what? How would these girls do if they teamed up against, like, say, Spider-Man's Rose Gallery? Like how would they do if they fought like someone like, say, Scorpion? How would they do? and we say like say someone like Scorpion, they would get blitzed by someone like say Scorpion, and we kind of hinted at that where Rambo there spent that entire fight running for her life from a crazed Scorpion. But what if he turned his attention to like say the others? What would Twilight be able to do? Or what would Rarity be able to do? Applejack, she'd have the strength to maybe kind of deal with Scorpion, but at the same time, for those who don't know, because this is one of those great examples that we talked about, Luke Cage. You know who Luke Cage is, right, Changeling?
Oh, yeah.
There was an issue where Luke Cage had to deal with Scorpion, and you want to know what happened? Scorpion blitzed the hell out of this guy and overwhelmed him. Luke couldn't do a thing. And this is a seasoned veteran in Luke Cage. He couldn't deal with Scorpion. Scorpion outright speed blitzed this guy and just knocked him out. He couldn't do anything against him. So imagine what he would do to someone, or rather even to a group, like say the girls. He overwhelmed them. Like most of them almost wouldn't be able to even react to someone like Scorpion. Then we said to say, okay, what would they do to someone like say Shocker? Shocker is noted as a joke to say Spider-Man, but we've seen what happens when someone like Shocker actually deals with other characters. He overwhelms them and whatnot. He may be a joke to Spider-Man. That's because Spider-Man is just used to dealing with someone like that, and he's got the durability to like handle it. But someone like say to the girls, would they be able to deal with that? I think we only know that like maybe a couple of characters they probably be able to deal with. And even some of the lighter ones, like say Chameleon. And I brought this up. What are these girls prone to? They're prone to manipulation. Sunset Shimmer was able to get these girls to break up and stop friending each other, all because she spread false rumors about them. Someone like say Chameleon will do something like that 1,000-fold. And he's an assassin. You add on top of that. So he could dismantle this group from like say the inside. We have to remember also they're teenagers. So they're not really used to dealing with stuff like that. Craven. Now, if they manage to like say isolate them and whatnot, they manage to work as a team, they could probably deal with Craven. But even then, we seen like it also depends on what version of Craven. If we're talking about the fucking Craven from Spider-Man 2 the game, where he's like terrorizing and murdering the Sinister Six, what is he gonna do to these girls? So
It just kind of puts into perspective why they even need 6 villains to kill Spider-Man.
What were you about to say, Changer? You about to say something?
I just realized that Marvel Soldier's in chat.
Oh! Oh, right.
I was like, what is it voice?
Oh yeah, he snuck in a few minutes ago.
Hey!
Solar Storm. I hope it's Spider-Man 2 Craven. He's definitely gonna be a mixture of Spectacular and Spider-Man 2 Craven. Because I'm not gonna lie, Spider-Man 2 Craven became one of my favorite, if not my favorite version of the character, just because of how badass he was.
It was like, what was it? It's kind of like taking inspiration from, if anyone's a One Piece fan, Lucci.
Yep.
Like, so yeah, just kind of picture that mixed in with the aesthetic of Spectacular.
There you go. And we're adding in some Spider-Man 2, and we're also adding in. I don't know if you guys have played the Amazing Spider-Man 1 game that's tied to the movie, but it's also the video game. Well, no, that was 2. That was 2 that Craven was in. It was 2, right? Yeah, that was 2 that Craven was in. Where Craven was kind of like a mentor figure to Spider-Man. We're also borrowing a little bit of that as well. So we got plans for Craven. We have
How many mentors Spider-Man has, and how many of them end up being at least one or the other of his rogues gallery?
Like they're mentors to him, but they end up betraying him. He ends up having to fight him anyway. I know it.
Yeah.
I know. It's a running cycle. I mean, let's face it. That's the whole reason we have Doc Ock as a mentor, because it was so great in the first game. But if you know, you know.
The people over here haven't played that game yet.
Are you talking about the first Spider-Man game? Oh, come on. That game is like how old now? They.
How do you not know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. I mean, because even the new series that's going on right now, they have freaking Norman Osborn as the mentor figure for Spider-Man. Although, granted, like you look at it, you're like, oh, come on, this is definitely gonna blow up in his face. But all right, so let's pull this back up. Okay, so that addresses. I talk about the Kraven event. Oh yeah, it's like I feel like that's one of the more underrated aspects of that game was Kraven as a mentor figure, because there's some great quotes that happen when they eventually fight. I won't say them right now, but there's some great quotes. I kind of want to say one now. Is it? Well, there's a difference between you and me. When you kill, it's something about killing, but basically the difference between that one of them knows it's wrong. Alright. Okay, also from EdCon. Will the seemingly recurrent dimensional tears and wait a minute. Oh no, we addressed that one, I'm sorry. But yeah, the dimensional tears, they're being addressed now. Like we're pretty much finally dealing with some of the fallback of that. But and me and Marvel, we've been working on some aspects. For all the bad that's going to come out of it, there's a lot of good that's going to come out of it too. And I can't say anything about it, but plot twist, it's massive. It's probably going to be easily the biggest story arc that's going to be happening in the future. So for all the dimensional tears and all the bad that's going to come out of it, there's ultimately good that comes out of it. Alright, and what has become of the planned side story, Loser Brigade Chronicles? The only reason that hasn't started yet is because there's one more member being added to the group. And that's going to be happening very soon. Like, if you've seen the pics, some of you know. But this character just makes sense to add in with this group. Should I go ahead and just say who it is? Or should we just leave that? What do you guys think? Because it's not really surprising. I mean, it is, but it's not.
They can put it together.
Okay. Oh yeah. Alright. So Spiders 1, 2, 3. Alright, well Peter used all this technology from the PS4 game. That got addressed. That's an is. He's already using a couple of things from that right now. He's already using the impact webbing, and he's already using the holographic tech. There's only more he's going to be using. So I must be mowing grass outside. I smell that through the door. Alright.
It's kind of like he just improves and adapts through every arc, like, well, a shonen protagonist. Like, they're always getting new upgrades and stuff, so it kind of shows that why his experience was such a factor when dealing with people like Scorpion by comparison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Marvel pretty much said it best, and we've already, that's quite literally the best way to describe him. He's a shonen protagonist, because even with, say, the Man Spider upgrades, because, he's got the tech upgrades already coming in, and he's already got the physical upgrades coming because of the Man Spider, like, denser skin, more super strength, that's all going to be exemplified. So, we got that. Alright, will Peter meet other X-Men, like Nightcrawler, Kitty Pryde, Rogue, and Forge, since they're Logan's friends? That's one of those, I want to say yes, but at the same time, not too much. I mean, because we're kind of already all over the place, and I've already got him meeting others. Now, will he meet other X-Men? That remains to be seen, but I know, because if you've seen some of the cover arts that we got, let's see, he's already interacting with Doctor Strange. He's got Logan. There's gonna be a chapter with Thor coming up. We got Daredevil about to pop up. Like we've already got a lot. Now, will he meet other X-Men? That depends. Same thing with the Fantastic Four. I may cut it off there. That he may or may not interact with the Fantastic Four, mainly because he's already kind of got counterparts. Now, someone got mad at me because of one aspect. I say Johnny Storm. Now, I know in comics, him and Johnny Storm are technically really good friends, but I already kind of have a stand-in for that being Rainbow Dash, because in terms of personality, they're both really similar, and they both have flaws that they both have to overcome. Like, say, with Johnny Storm, he's a hothead, he's a womanizer, and whatnot. Same with Rainbow Dash, like, she's got the whole thing, like, she wants to be a hero, but she's prideful, she's got the ego. She's more or less the stand-in for that. And Peter's already dealing with S.H.I.E.L.D., who already kind of are looking at the glass half full with them, because a lot of people may or may not realize, but Peter is close to being a villain, per se, because even back in the comics, back in the day, one of the first things Reed Richards says about him is that, I am so worried that this guy is going to become a villain one day. And that's kind of how we're going with Pete, just to show that more flawed side to him. Steve Ditko era Pete. But that answers that.
Like, if I was to put it in my own words, he was someone that was treated as if he had a questionable future ahead of him. Like you're dealing with a delinquent situation.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to put it. Alright. Perhaps Bolivar Trask is the one responsible for the death of Peter's Parker. Or rather, Peter's father. That's the thing. Now, granted, it is a fascinating aspect about Peter's, parents, being, agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatnot. I'm not going to go that route. Mainly for the fact that I want Peter to kind of keep some of his everyman appeal. Like, the moment you say, oh, his parents were spies, he kind of loses some of that. Though I do get why. Now, like I said, in some universes, it works. Like, say, the Ultimate Universe. Like, say, because one thing in the Ultimate Universe is that his father and Eddie's father, they both basically made a Venom symbiote. They made the Venom symbiote. That was the one thing that, like, really tied them together and whatnot. Would I have that be the case with this Pete? Not really. I'm gonna have it to where he's average when it comes to that. It's just him, his uncle, and his aunt. Or like Spiders 1, 2, 3 brought. Did you know Eddie Brock's dad is alive, but blames his son for the death of his mother? Yes, that's another one of those differences. But we won't go that route. Eddie's already got a lot going on. Well, almost every universe, Eddie gets it bad. We're still going that route. Eddie's gonna have a rough patch, but just keep it on course. Like Little Mouse's, or in the Amazing Spider-Man's case, where the spider had his father's DNA, and in a way, Peter was the chosen one to become Spider-Man. That's true also, but I'm also avoiding that route because one of the things I feel is the best aspect of Spider-Man, I think me and Marvel have talked about this, is that anyone could become Spider-Man. That spider could have bitten anyone, and anyone could have, gotten Spider-Man's abilities. Now, we are going with a little bit of a difference in this universe because we did have it to where, or we're already hinting that Peter's special, but he's also lucky that the spider bit him. He's already got a few genetic things going his way, but not quite what you'd expect. But that'll get addressed a little bit later as to why, because he already kind of dealt with one aspect that he got bit, but he still mutated into like a big giant spider. And the only reason he got bailed out of that was because Doc Ock was prepared for that. But that's all going to get addressed. So Peter does have a little bit of uniqueness to him, but he's still also lucky that he got the luck of the draw. That's where we're going with Peter's. Not just because, say, he's the chosen one. We're kind of avoiding that. It's like same thing with, like one of the big plot points of, say, Into the Spider-Verse or the second movie was that even though technically Miles wasn't meant to be Spider-Man, he still became Spider-Man. Because that spider, again, could have bitten anyone. That's the route we're trying to go.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Wasn't ironically in the original Spiders and Magic, Peter was a little bit of a chosen one? He gets summoned like an isekai to Equestria.
Yeah.
Because...
Oh yeah, because he's the greatest hero in history, right? Yeah, like even though I did have fun poking fun at that, because I did write a how it should have ended version, to where instead of Spider-Man, and it's there on the website that instead of Spider-Man, Twilight summons Superman. He just finishes everything in like the span of a few seconds. Because let's face it, it's fucking Superman.
I mean, okay, like obviously no disrespect on our boy Spidey, but
Come on now.
I like the head that the reason why it was said to be him wasn't necessarily because he's the greatest, but at the very least one of the greatest. Come on, that shouldn't be too debatable.
Oh yeah, like you can definitely say top 3 without a doubt.
It should be he was chosen because certain things needed to happen in place for that world, for them to happen the way they did. Meaning certain people's fates were tied to them interacting with this specific hero and how he interacts with people and changes their lives for the better. Every hero can make a difference, but that doesn't mean they make the same difference for the same reasons, whether it be for personal, like, connections or whatnot.
Which that's completely fair. That's completely fair. Because he did affect their lives for the most part in a positive way. And they, affected his life in a positive way too. So that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, like, that's what I mean. It's kind of like if you summoned Batman, yeah, he definitely would have kicked ass. Probably not in the same way as Spider-Man.
Now talk!
Not many characters would probably bond with a guy like that.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
What's that author's name? Automata P. I think he addressed that pretty great in his story. Both of his stories with Superman and Batman.
Yeah, the one I reviewed.
Mm-hmm. Which I feel like, and like I say, Changeling reviewed these stories. I feel like Superman fits like a glove in the MLP verse, whereas Batman, he sticks out like a sore thumb, honestly, in comparison. But yeah, I can definitely agree with that. All right, next one. Can Danny Rand be a shield agent for Peter, like in the Friend or Foe game? Iron Fist, he won't be. He won't be involved. I feel like I've got a lot already kind of in store, and I feel Iron Fist is one of those Plus, I don't really keep up too much with the Iron Fist character. No disrespect to the character, I just don't really keep up too much with Danny. I like it. Oh, he's so much nicer and can save Peter in a pinch, unlike Sweetie Drops, who tried to kill him out of fear. We're not done with Sweetie Drops. She's going to become a recurring character. I feel like there's too much potential, well, rather fun potential to have with Sweetie Drops, because the equivalent of Sweetie Drops, she's pretty much meant to be, I don't know if any of you remember Maria Hill, how she was in the comics. She's meant to be that equivalent. The equivalent of, like, say, she fills in for Nick Fury, but she doesn't handle things the best. If anything, she tends to add a lot more fuel to the fire, because she was one of the biggest catalysts in the original Civil War. Because Maria Hill, she earned a really bad reputation during the original Civil War. This is right before the first Iron Man movie came out. And some of you may or may not know, but Iron Man was so unlikable in the comics before the first movie came out. Because honestly, the main reason Tony is as popular as he is now is because of the movies and the mainstream appeal. because Tony's one of the biggest benefactors of mainstream appeal. He's probably one of the biggest benefactors of that saying.
The MCU brand synergy really did him wonders.
It really did. Because if you read the comics before that, good lord, Tony was rough. Tony was like, good lord. Yeah, he wasn't nearly as likable in the comics as he was, say, the movies made him out to be. Civil War being one of the biggest examples, because he did some shit in the comics.
Yeah. One thing about Tony is, okay, and I say this as someone who loves the MCU stuff, well, especially with Iron Man, but as someone who read a lot of the comics growing up, Tony's a very different character in the comics than he is in the movies. Like, they skip over important stuff, or skim over it. Like, Tony's alcohol problems are only really alluded to a bit in the movies because, you know, for kids, family viewing and stuff. But in the comics, it's kind of a consistent thing, about as much as a consistent thing for him as it is for Peter Parker to have a guilt complex.
It's like you mentioned it, just like I'm gonna let you continue, but Carol Danvers, they don't meant it. She doesn't drink at all in the in the MCU, but that's one of her biggest character flaws in the comics. She was just as big, if not a bigger alcoholic than Tony was in the comics, but they skim over that.
Yeah. Plus, there's just the general fact that RDJ was kind of improving a lot, and let's face it, a lot of actors put a bit of themselves into their work.
Yep.
Like most people. And RDJ, great actor, but Tony Stark acts very different in comics. Like, he's not... He can be jokey and snarky, but it was usually contextual. He was very straight-laced as a businessman. Like, you kind of had to... Like, he was the last guy to joke in the room. If we were talking about his own company. Like... Do you get what I'm saying? I can tell I'm wording it wrong. I'm fumbling, trying to find the right words, but he just had a certain way of carrying himself that is different to how MCU humor tends to have characters act in general.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's one of it was honestly one of the best things, but also one of the worst things to happen is because, well, in terms of, like, say, Tony Stark's character, like, that's pretty much become his character now. Like, his character now is because of Robert Downey Jr.'s influence. But it's also kind of become the baseline for MCU humor in general. Is that they pretty much take how he approached things and they made it everyone's character. But that's a wrap for another day, though.
Alright, why don't we get back to the question?
Yeah, right. See?
Getting a little off topic.
Yeah.
So,
Alright, let's see. Another Spider-Man. Oh, this is a good question. Is the city and town of Canterlot High, is it close to the West Chancellor, home of the X-Men? Is that how Logan appeared twice in the fix? That's actually a good question. Like, where is Canterlot High? Like, in terms of, like, say, or rather the city of Canterlot. Like, where is it in terms of, like, say, in comparison? And let's face it, like, for some reason, so much shit just happens so close to New York or right there in New York. And all of the heroes are kind of stationed there. Like, say, Doctor Strange lives in New York. The Baxter Building is in New York. The Avengers are in New York. The X-Men are, like, right outside of New York. For some reason, New York just has everything. What are you about to say? I'm sorry.
We need more Midwestern heroes.
I know, right?
Where's the Chicago-based Avengers, huh?
I mean, you should look up Teen Titans East.
Hey, right? That's actually a good question. That's one of those I really haven't addressed, but I kind of want to say just because everyone's kind of in that same area, that maybe they're like an hour away from New York because they're still isolated. Like they're in like a small town that's kind of there. That's that's actually a good question, and I honestly have never addressed where they are located.
If you're talking about narratively speaking, like metaphorically, it's just because Stanley wanted things to be convenient. If he wanted to have a lot of hero team-ups, it didn't have to be convoluted for them to meet. If they just all lived relatively close together.
That's true.
He lived in New York for a time, so I'm pretty sure he...
So that's why everyone is basically right there in New York, basically. That's a good question, Spiders123. There, I really never thought about that, but I like to say they're probably right on the outskirts of New York. They're like in a very small town that's like on the outskirts of it. But then at the same, that's a that's a good.
I'm reminded of one of the more recent Solid JJ videos.
Mm-hmm.
The one where he talks over the still images.
Yeah.
And there was like oh hey, I think this was like DC. No, this was DC, I think. But they're like, hey, no, it was Avengers. They're like, hey, there's a big problem in Kansas. None of the Avengers teams knew which which team should go because they're all on opposite sides of the continent. So like, hey, you're not really close to there. I don't want to go. Because nobody near Kansas.
Right. Which that's actually a good question. But I do have Peter intending to go to New York, so maybe I like to say maybe they're like an hour or two away to where if he wants to go, he can take a bus. Because I do intend to have him go to like say Sin City or or rather the Hell's Kitchen. I do intend to have him go there. But I don't know. Ooh. You kind of brought up a good question with that one where I honestly don't know how to answer that one.
I mean, here's an example. If you wanted him to go to, say, England, like the MCU, you can't really get away with that without that being a field trip.
Yeah, right.
Or, like, what was it? If people say, why doesn't he just have Nick Fury get him there with his resources? And I'd probably say something along the lines of, I don't think Peter really likes the idea of working for a shady government type. It's kind of like in the MCU series where he thought the FBI needed him for, security and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was like a scam by the Kingpin.
Which that makes sense for his character. So, all right. You know what? We'll put a caveat on that. I like to say that they're in an undisclosed location for a reason, and right now Peter gets around because he really doesn't get around. That's why he technically hasn't really left the city. We don't even know where Everfree is in comparison. And he didn't even go there. So far, I like to say right now they're in an undisclosed location. But if he ever travels, because he's friends with Strange, and if he did want to travel, like you said, we break it down to like say a field trip, or maybe Strange or even Eris just opens up a port and says, "All right, here you go. Give me a call when you want to get back."
Like, hey, I could skip out on flight tickets now.
Well, I mean, yeah. And Eris is coming back in this chapter too, and she's been with Strange. So, right now we're in an undisclosed location, and Peter mainly just has ways to get around. But we'll address that at a later time. Right now, completely undisclosed. We don't know how close they are because the whole reason Fury moved them to that location was so, one, people couldn't track them so easily, and two, people would just kind of forget he kind of exists and whatnot.
Well, except for the fact with JJ, but that's
also
a local problem.
That's true too. But have you noticed JJ really hasn't even talked about where they are, if you really think about it.
Where what? You cut out there.
I want to say, like, JJ really hasn't brought up where they are, if you really think about it. They bring up O'Carroll's, but he doesn't go into, like, say, logistics where they are. Or it could be one of those things that, where the hell am I? I kind of just drove here, but I don't know where the hell I am.
You're in New Jersey.
Right? Not New Jersey. All right. Okay, so we got another one. All right, next question. We're talking to... Oh, let's make sure I do... Let's see, Little Mouse. Didn't Peter get hit by a train and ended up in the Hudson River? He can't be too far. That's a good point. You did bring that up. Like, he did fall in a part of the river, but we don't know how. Do we know how far that river goes, though, or where it goes to? And plus, almost any time. Well, we do have to remember. Oh, that's right. Also, that anytime anything public tends to happen, like it's like mainly held to like the local area because of Shield. Also, kind of keeping that area under wraps. So it's honestly I may have to.
It's like the Men in Black situation. Look into the light.
That's kind of Doctor Strange Uber service, hey, right? That's one I said. You know what? I'm gonna have to get addressed about where they may possibly be, but I like to leave it open ended that they're somewhere they pretty concealed, but it's also
Just pull the Simpsons and just
That's a good.
It's the same thing. Where is Springfield? Who knows?
Yeah, right. They're somewhere in Illinois, right?
Yeah, just leave little hints.
All right, that's a good idea. They're somewhere in New York. Somewhere. Where? No idea. All right, besides Daredevil, which street level heroes can we possibly see? That's a good question. Heroes, I'm not too sure about. I can tell you villains. I mean, we're definitely going to be seeing, like I said, we're seeing Daredevil, we're seeing Tombstone, we're seeing Kingpin. But in terms of other street level heroes, and there's a bunch of them, like say, you got Iron Fist, you've got Cloak and Dagger, you've got technically Squirrel Girl's street level, but she kind of just does her own thing. Squirrel Girl is coming, but we have a fun backstory for her. She's basically a childhood friend of Derpy. How? You're gonna find out. That's gonna be fun when we tackle that. In terms of other heroes, will we see a Moon Knight? Will we see Luke Cage? As of right now, I think I've got a good idea of who's all popping up. What other street level heroes can I think of right off the top of my head? Not too many.
Quick question: where is these questions? Is this on a blog or am I missing this in the chat?
Oh, some of these questions are popping up on Twitch.
Hello?
Oh, can you hear me? Some of these questions are popping up on Twitch. Sorry.
So they're popping up in the chat. I heard popping.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that Simpsons theory. See, there you go, Change it. We'll go with that. It's a Simpsons theory. They're somewhere in New York. That's all we know. Oh yeah, did you know in Spider-Man 2 that the Baxter building is at Hell's Kitchen? Yep. Oh yeah, that's a great thing I will say about the game, that most of the buildings are there, like the Sanctum Sanctorum. It's there in the game. Hell's Kitchen is there in the game. Luke Cage and Iron Fist's business is there. Like I said, you got the Baxter building, you got Avengers Tower. It's all there. It's all there in the game. So, alright. So we're leaving Twitch chat. We're going back to fanfiction. Alright, this is from CSN, the Navy. It's obvious that we're getting Venom soon with the introduction of Eddie Brock. Are you more of a fan of the Venom origin of Amazing Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, or Spider-Man the Animated Series? That's a good question. Which Venom origin am I more of a fan of? If I had to say my least favorite, I would say it's the Ultimate Spider-Man. Even though it is interesting, I do like the idea of, let's say, a corporation created symbiote. I do like that idea, but I prefer the alien origins for Venom. So if I had to say, you can't go wrong with the Amazing Spider-Man, or rather, 616, of it being, from outer space and whatnot. And you got the whole race of symbiotes and whatnot. That's what I prefer, and I do like the animated series as well. But if I had to pick, I'm going with the canon of it being, an alien. Whatnot. What do you guys think?
I personally have I have a soft spot for the Ultimate, mostly from the video game I grew up playing on the PlayStation 2.
Yep.
And I do overall still agree with you, though. I can't imagine it not being an alien. Even if someone wanted to adapt the Ultimate comics, I just make it that a corporation didn't made it, they just tinkered with it. But it still came from space.
That's a good. There you go. I like that.
Oh, you mean like the one in like the Venom movies?
Yeah, actually, kind of similar to that. Yeah. So yeah.
I do give rare exceptions, because there is such a thing as synthetic symbiotes even within mainstream canon. Like, technically speaking, what was it? What was that animated series that came out? Before the recent one.
Not Ultimate. It's the one that came out after Ultimate, right?
Yeah, I think they just called it Spider-Man.
Yeah, if I remember right, yeah. Yeah, that's right, because Ultimate, then you had that one, then you got the current one, so yeah. I haven't seen much of anything about that one.
Yeah, they just called it Spider-Man.
Okay. Yeah, I agree, Little Mouse. The goopy alien is the best symbiote. But that's the thing, especially since mainstream Venom symbiote has gotten so much character development over the years that, at first, it was viewed as quote-unquote evil. But now we have, so much more to go on that, it's not evil. It just basically just takes on the emotions of its host and it amplifies it. Which is what we're going for, because just expect a lot of character development from this Venom symbiote. And we got so much written down. It's a lot of fun with we will have a lot of fun with that. And I will say that is the best thing to come out of the Venom movies is the characterization of Eddie and the symbiote. That they're like an old married couple in the movies.
They're like what?
An old married couple. Like, you son of a bitch! How dare you do that to Eddie? Oh yeah, like in the various races of the symbiote. That's one of those books that I have to read. I have to read about the invasion, but do that another time. Alright. Which would you say, this is also from CSN the Navy, which would you say the upcoming arc most closely resembles the Venom symbiote? I would definitely have to say it's definitely more of the Amazing Spider-Man. More so, it's more like how it was in the Venom movies and the 616 verse. A little bit of both. Yeah, it's going to have its own personality and whatnot. It's the best way I can put it without revealing too much.
The way, okay, I'm not talking about the story, I'm talking about canon. One of the things people mistake with the symbiote is that, technically speaking, it was naive when it first bonded with Peter Parker in the comics. Like, think of it like almost treat it like it was a newborn. like because it didn't really understand deeper emotions and certain human. How do I put this? Just emotions in general. Like it understood basic instincts. Like if it bonded to an animal, that would be easy to understand and drive. But humans are very complex beings, and to a symbiote, it basically learned morality through Spider-Man.
Yep. And that became both, and that became both a good thing and a bad thing. Where like it took Peter's worst emotion because, whereas like say people assumed the symbiote was evil at the time, it wasn't. Peter was just, again, this is more kind of on the cusp of Ditko era Pete, where Peter had that big chip on his shoulder and whatnot. It basically just took Peter's emotions and amplified them to where it's like, so say like if like so like say if Peter was feeling really guilty that day, the symbiote would feel almost twice that. Or if Peter was pissed, the symbiote would feel twice that. And same thing goes with the positive emotions. If Peter was like very loving and protective, that's how the Venom symbiote would react. So it basically took the best and worst emotions of Peter and absorbed them, but those became like its base emotions to where the Venom symbiote made the assumption, okay, this is just normal, without realizing, oh, this isn't quite normal. That, you know, there are areas of gray that we have to implement. That's what Marvel is basically alluding to with this.
Yeah, because I just don't really like the idea of stories that try to corrupt a protagonist in a way that it feels too close to mind control. It removes too much character agency. Like, I'd rather, if a character made a bad choice or went down a wrong route, you either use very cunning manipulation or something that does exaggerate their traits, but it's still from traits that innately made them innocuous.
Like, this is honestly, it was honestly one of my biggest problems with, like, say, the Venom symbiote in Spider-Man 2, the game. Because you basically know, like, how Harry, you know, Harry basically, you know, he wanted to, like, to protect the world. He was, like, you know, doing everything for, you know, like his mom wanted to carry out. He wanted to, like, cure the world and whatnot. And, you know, but it had that one bad day with Peter, where, you know, Peter was more just pissed at everything. It somehow took what Peter was feeling, where Peter's just more angry and agitated, that it went through that villain arc so fast that where it just came out, or when it latched on to Harry, it just became evil. Like that. That's basically, that's kind of what Marvel's alluded to, where writers would basically kind of skip a lot of that, you know, almost make the Venom symbiote evil for the sake of it being evil, where that shouldn't have been the case with the symbiote in, like, say, the game, to where they basically took, like, what was just anger and frustration, they morphed that and say, oh no, you're just evil at this point. Yeah, whereas like this Venom, it's meant to just come off as an ex-girlfriend, but it's that ex-girlfriend that, hey, I still love you, and I hate how we broke up, but I would still like to get back with you someday. That's honestly the Venom symbiote.
The Queenie X.
Pretty much, yeah.
Literally in this case.
Alright, so let's see what the next question is. Alright, got to have you back, thank you. Are you going to mention the Underage Superhuman Welfare Act or hint at it? Probably not. Only.
It seems like tendency to me. Like, I don't know. I just couldn't take that too seriously.
Yeah.
Like, it's already illegal to be a vigilante in most, like, real life standards to begin with. So it's like making a double law to say it's illegal for a teenager to drink alcohol. Like, yeah, you didn't need to make a second law for that. Like, do you get what I'm getting around? Like, the first superhero right act should have been the only one needed, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, I feel like I feel like we won't really address that because honestly, for a big reason, one, they're already in an isolated area, and if we're going off of the rules of how that town worked, I feel like it just really wouldn't apply here. Because let's remember how, say, not Rainbow Rocks, but the Equestria games ended. Basically, with the girls like using their powers, it basically boiled down to, hey, like we all know these girls have these powers, but we're basically going to cover to it. It basically comes down to, hey, everyone here is going to keep quiet about it. When I,
No snitch.
yeah, like quite literally. That's how they all looked at snitch. It's like, hey, snitches get stitches. No one's going to believe you anyway. So, I think just because of that, and you know, just the naivete of how that town works in general, I feel like they really wouldn't treat anything like, say, the Superhero Registration Act. Like, they honestly probably wouldn't even acknowledge it, if we're being frank. So that's why I feel like we don't really have to worry about that happening. Now, would that be interesting? That would they have probably their own civil war? I can honestly kind of see that, but I don't know. Like, maybe down the line, but as of right now, nah. Like,
if we're talking about the girls specifically, they'd have to fuck up really bad to get that negative attention. Whereas you're just the ultimate scapegoat, really.
Yeah.
Like, it just he has the shittiest luck.
You're like, for real. And we have to remember, because in the comics, or even in the game, Change, you may not notice, but the whole reason that, because it's kind of similar to the movie, or rather to Captain America Civil War, but in the comics, it was basically like this ragtag group of superheroes. I forgot what group it was, but they basically kind of had their own reality show, to where like everyone would record their escapades and whatnot. And I forgot the villain's name, but they like apprehended him. But his whole thing was that he could basically become like a nuclear bomb. So, like they basically captured him, and his last words were, "Oh baby, like you're messing with the big boy." And he basically blew up a small town, just wiped out everyone there, and it got recorded. So that was basically what triggered the original Civil War in the comics, anyway. What were you about to say, Marvel? Sorry.
I was asking which version of the adaptation you were referring to, but then I realized you were talking about the comics.
Yeah.
It's just hard to keep up because sometimes the connection cuts in and out.
Oh, right. Yeah, because like that was basically the version they used in the comics, and they used it in the Marvel Ultimate Alliance too. They basically referred to that incident there. So yeah, and even like I say, Captain America Civil War, even though worse had happened, but the old incident that caused it to happen there was when what's his name, Skull and Bones, I forgot what, but he basically turned himself into a bomb. Crossbones, that's right. And where he basically kamikazed himself. Rwanda couldn't fully stop it, but some people got caught in the crosshair. I don't know. It felt like in the movie it was definitely more of a reach in the comic, but yeah, like pretty much like Marvel said, they really have to fuck up really bad for that to happen in, like, say, Catch-A-Lot. Though right now I can't really think of too much that would really happen for things to get that bad, especially in an isolated little town and whatnot. And you already got S.H.I.E.L.D. on top of everything, covering everything up. I think that's the end of the questions on fanfiction. I can't recall any questions. You guys have anything? Oh, I have a question. Maybe Sense should have gotten a camera phone next time. Well, I mean, like, it's a case of, like, it's still her word against theirs, but she's with Oscorp right now, so it's really kind of past, she's kind of beyond that at this point.
There might be some extra questions on the first post you made.
Unfortunately, that version's down. So unless you could find a way to dig it back up. Oh yeah, it's down. Yeah, I deleted it like an idiot.
I think someone was even asking about that on your latest story in the comments.
Yeah, I addressed that. It's man, like, the only reason I brought it down was because I was that was when I was getting ready to upload the previous blog before I found out my file got corrupted. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's
well,
my file.
I guess that's that.
Yeah, right. Would Peter meet G.I. Joe? Nah, he won't like it. We're pretty much we already got a lot to work with on the Marvel side, and even the MLP side, we've got a lot to really pull from. So I don't really need another universe within another universe in another universe, you know, since we already got a lot to work with in that aspect. Yeah, Nitro, that was his name. Yep. Yeah, the New Warriors, Nitro. That Cantalite is a town, and so now I'm gonna do my own thing. I mean, it really is. But all right, do you guys have everything you like to bring up or ask about? Because I think
When's the new story coming out? When's it coming out?
There's stuff I want to talk about, but I can't say it here yet.
In terms of the new story, I mean, first chapter is more than halfway done. I just haven't had that chance to sit down and really buckle down, because almost every time I tell myself, all right, I'm gonna work on a story, either something with work or I'm just tired. I mean, it's right there. If I really just sit down and buckle down today, I can have that story done, and I could start having Marvel and a couple of my other editors look into it, because it's right there. And I've been super inspired to really get into it, because there's a lot going on in this chapter in terms of characterization, whether it be with the OG Sunset or the human variation, and everything going on with Peter and the Venom symbiote, and we're finally kind of opening up everything. I like to say within like a week or two, we'll get started and we'll start posting, because like I said, we're right there. It's literally right there. I just literally just have to make myself sit down for a day and just say, all right, you know what, we're doing it. And tomorrow might actually be that day, because I have a dentist appointment. I'm getting fillings in on some teeth, and I'm just taking the rest of the day off. So that could be my inspiration to just sit down and get it done tomorrow. That, you know what, that could be my goal.
Awesome.
Yeah. Where's the next review coming out?
Well, okay, all right, yeah. I've been busy, man. I've been so, you know what? With all the trips I've been taking,
It's
I
fair.
haven't really felt like working on much. But now that I finally moved my brother down to Tennessee, kind of like, all right, I guess I don't have any plans for the next couple months. I guess I could work on it.
Hey,
So
hey.
now I have no excuse. So.
All right, we're both in the same boat then. All right.
Yep. Next on the list.
All right, sounds good. All right, so I think in terms of, and I addressed a couple of the other things in those mini rants I had earlier. And like I said, so next story is sometime this month. That's the goal. It'll be sometime this month. That's my goal. Everything with Peter. There's several bits of artwork that give hints as to what's going to be going on. But other than that, I think we're good. So, all right, you guys have any passing statements you'd like to pass on before we shut this down?
Not really.
All right. And hopefully this file won't get corrupted. Because, damn it, if it happens again, then I'm just done.
Nope. Download it tomorrow.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That'd be a good thing to do. Well, all
Wait,
right.
is that what this whole thing was? Like, were we redoing the entire thing from the last stream?
Pretty much, yeah, because the original file got corrupted. So.
Oh, man. If I had known that, I would have brought up stuff I brought up that first time.
Yeah, right. You wouldn't happen to remember 'Cause I know we talked about a lot, honestly.
I just remember being proud that I went so in depth with the whole Ditko situation in that last stream.
We talked about that. Like, that was one of the first things we talked about right before you came in, about basically Peter's characterization. And people basically complain about why the girls are having such a hard time, or rather, why they're being rough on Pete. And I brought up that, it's more about Steve, the characterization of Peter we have right now, is that people I think they're so used to mainstream media Pete, like one of the things that was made popular was Tobey Maguire's Peter through the trilogy, where he was basically the absolute puppy dog who was just down on his luck. Whereas, with the Peter we got going on here, he's definitely more of an inspiration of, the mid-60s to the 80s, where Steve Ditko era Pete, he's a completely different animal. Because we talked about how, is it so much that are the girls more out of character? Or is it because they're dealing with a case that is not usually like their normal? We brought up how, one of the flaws, right, it's one of the things with the MLP, but it's also one of the flaws is how easily forgiven everyone tends to be. And it's also because the villain's everyone's I hope you learned your lesson. The villain's what usually happens? The villain's you know what, you're right. Wildflower Blush, we'll bring up a different example. What did this girl do? All because she felt, she wasn't noticed, even though half of that shit she was doing to herself, erasing everyone's memory. Of course no one's going to remember you. You're erasing everyone's memory of every interaction that you have. This is a girl who wanted to basically erase Sunset Shimmer from existence. Or rather, erase everyone's memory of her, which is pretty fucked up. All because she felt a certain kind of way. And this is all because I went back and rewatched that special. Sunset didn't even notice the girl. She wouldn't even notice anything about Wallflower. Wallflower didn't bring any of this up. So it wasn't even like Sunset, even when she was bullying everyone, Sunset really didn't interact with Wallflower. So Wallflower wasn't even a victim in that case. But Wallflower made her a target, all because, Sunset became one of, and not the most popular girl in school after that. So, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to erase you from everyone's memory. All because of that. And you want to know what happened in that special? Sunset was the one to apologize. She's like, I'm sorry I made you feel this way. Are you fucking serious? She tried to erase you from existence for simply existing. And yet you're the one to apologize about it? These are the girls that we're talking about. So yes, these girls are super quick to forgive everyone. But what if you have a character who not only does not apologize, but who just doubles down instead of apologizing? That's what Peter basically is right now. He's that guy that said, oh, you know what? No, I don't apologize. If anything, fuck you. I stand by what I did. And I'll fucking do it again. That's...
that part of pride. But people don't think about too often. They think he's humble because he's a superhero, and while he's not Tony Stark levels of arrogance, Peter's just inherently a prideful person. He's independent. He likes to do things with his own two hands, for example.
Yep.
He was usually a loner back in those days.
Yep. Oh yeah, because why do you think? That's one of the things that people forget. Why do you think it took him so long to finally join a team like the Avengers? Because he didn't join the Avengers until the mid, the mid 2000s. It wasn't until 2008 or 9 that he finally joined the Avengers. And this is a dude that's been around since the 60s. Why is that? Because he just liked doing his own thing. That's just who he was.
I mean, you should have seen in the early, I want to say 70s, what happened the first time the Avengers wanted to recruit him. They sent him on a mission to go apprehend the Hulk, of all people. Wow, yeah, I know, tall order, right, guys? But Peter, I think he ended up having a little beef with the Wasp or something over some petty shit, she's a wasp, and wasps hate spiders, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But with other members, like Peter just simply had a short temper, and I think they asked him, "Okay, we're going to discuss what to do about you. So can you like just move out of the room for a little bit?" And then Peter's response to us to basically go, "Hey, what am I, chopped liver? Get out of my face," or something like that. That wasn't word for word. I'm just saying Peter basically blew up just because he didn't like the idea of them talking about him behind his back like he was a nobody. He was not simping to be noticed. Like this ain't the MCU where Peter is ecstatic to be an Avenger. Peter, if anything, would basically go, "Yeah, I don't need you guys either. Screw you." Like he was like that if you tried to recruit him and he felt
he was pretty much that guy. Oh, you can't fire me. I quit. He's that guy.
pretty much. Like Peter Parker in the comics has a lot of grit and backbone to him. When he gets picked on, like if he turns the other cheek, it's probably because he's thinking of how much he knows he can tear you apart. Like, and just has to rein himself in.
Yep.
Otherwise, he would usually trash talk you back.
Yep. And it's also why, and I also mentioned this too, that it was the Fantastic Four, specifically Reed. They tried to, help him out too, but then Reed pretty much said, "Yeah, I'm kind of worried that guy's going to become a villain one of these days."
I mean, there was literally an instance where the Fantastic Four didn't instigate anything with Spider-Man. Like, he just came onto one of Johnny's, I want to say, parties. Like, of course, I'm not sure it matters how specific which party, because he probably has a lot, given how popular Johnny is. But he had a party with one of his girlfriends. Doesn't matter which. He had a lot back in the day. And Peter went to that party just to be a petty little shit and humiliate him in front of his girl. Like, he didn't get an invitation or anything.
Mm-hmm.
He just went there and made fun of Torch at his party, started a fight, kept egging him on. Again, this is why what people need to understand. Imagine if Peter kept doing that to Rainbow Dash actively. We just haven't seen him in a scenario to do that yet, but he totally would. He would do that. He is that petty. Like, if he feels like he has a grudge against you. Like, he hates the popular types, essentially. Yep. Peter was very jealous of the popular types.
And he just said a mouthful right there. And who's the most popular group in school right now? The Rainbows. They're literally the celebrities. So, of course, he's going to double down when it comes to that. So, So, again, it's not so much that the girls are out of character. They're dealing with somebody... Hell, you can take your friendship and shove it up your ass. That's literally how he's looking at them at this point.
Like, obviously barring exceptions like Fluttershy, but Fluttershy's Fluttershy. Anyway, as I was saying, in that example, you had Peter start a fight with Johnny. Yep. The rest of the members tried to mainly break it up. Well, mainly Reed. Reed actively reached out a hand to Peter. What did Peter do? He smacked it away and say, "I don't need your damn pity." Like, he hated the idea of being looked down upon. Because you have to think of this from the point of view of he's just used to being picked on and bullied all his life. So he just overcompensates all the time.
Mm-hmm. And this is one of those things, and other characters would bring this up to him. Like you want to know one of the big reasons why Flash Thompson picks on him so much? It's because of that. And that's been hinted at even in the story that, Flash doesn't pick on him, just to be picking on him. He picks on him for a reason, because he views Peter, tends to look down on people, which he does, which he absolutely does.
Mm-hmm. It's because of that mainstream appeal. They kind of make Peter sympathetic in his bullying. And again, not saying bullying is right, no one's saying that, but Peter just simply doesn't help his situation with how he handles being bullied.
Yep.
Or how he handled it in the past, because if he didn't stop to think about it, he just simply gives
he basically feeds the trolls when he shouldn't, you know?
Yep. That's a good way to look at it. But that's us addressing, again, the whole, you're writing the rainbows out so bad. Again, just look at their few interactions with them. Every time they've interacted with them, whether it's as Peter Parker or Spider-Man, he hasn't helped his case. Some of it is because, he puts his foot in his mouth when he's nervous. But if you take those away, because again, he had a chance to explain himself, right before they had their big fight, during the whole Scorpion thing. What did he do? He immediately starts, he starts trolling him. At what point? Like he makes fun of him. He does, again, he comes off, he doesn't help his situation at all.
Say real quick, I love how you do Spider-Man's sense of humor in this, because honestly, I prefer Spider-Man with a bit of a New Yorker type snarky banter, not just a guy that quips every 5 seconds like he's Deadpool.
Yep.
Like, I'd rather Peter's sense of humor, and half the time, if he is nervous, it's probably because he's around someone he knows or someone he admires.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, usually, if it's just total stranger, no, this guy will roast you. I'm thinking like Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects video game, where it just has some great, great back and forth with characters. Like, this guy is not to be messed with. Or, again, I always go back to this series. I love it so much. MTV series Spider-Man, which had a lot of the Ditko Peter personality down, just in a college setting.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have this random line where he jokes, but like I said, he doesn't joke every 5 seconds. He has like an opening one-liner, then he's silent for most of the fight, kind of like Tobey Maguire is, and then he'll say it in the middle when both parties are pausing to say something to each other. There's this one episode that comes to mind where he goes against the Pterodax. Basically, they were stand-ins for the Vulture at the time. Pterodax were like those guys with jetpacks, right?
Yep.
The group I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
They were like a bomber terrorist group or something. And Peter ended up saying something like, what were they doing? The Pterodax wanted to rob a bank or something, because that's what bad guys generally do.
Yep.
And that guy said something like, "This will make me very wealthy." And then Spider-Man, he just completely destroys his element of surprise by casually and very cockily leaning on shattered glass. And I don't mean it like he's like on the ceiling of it. And he's just leaning on it going, okay, the first thing I would do with it, better outfits. That boy band's look is so yesterday.
Neil Patrick here, yep.
He's got these really good roasts, or they'll shoot a table out to try and hit him, and he'll say something like, again, it's not an overly cringy, dated meme joke. He'll say something cocky like, 5 seconds to recharge. Better make your next shot count. Like, I just like that's how he talks to enemies. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Well, we talked about that at the beginning of the stream. Another one of the reasons why the girls have such a hard time getting along with them. And I just said one simple thing: people forget he's a New Yorker. People forget this about him. And generally speaking, New Yorkers are not the friendliest people. They're not. Little Mouse says, like when Peter called Twilight a great flavored twerp, I lost it. Well, I'm glad you liked that one. I remember one user, he said like that came off as a little racist. No, he wouldn't be a racist. If anything, he's just. But we have to remember, he's still not really used to people being as colorful as they are. That's still kind of just new to him.
No, if he was racist, he would have called one of them yellow or something.
Oh my God, it's just.
Oh boy.
Peter's gonna get canceled at this rate.
Let's carefully.
Yeah, right. Like, well, hey, we did have someone even accuse JJ of being racist but he immediately had to bring up. 'Cause I forgot which episode that was, but he brought up, that, hey, my niece is pink. All right, how am I racist?
Another example I just want to pull real quick from MTV, because again, I love so much of this series. It's so underrated. It's a shame that it didn't get more. Like, there are a lot of good lines in this show. You remember that one scene, again, from that Pterodax episode, where Peter's talking to Mary Jane, and he says to her something along the lines of, I'm sorry about, like, he didn't know how to convey his feelings for her. So he says, sometimes I'm just not good with words, or I don't have the words. And then she's like, really? What would you say if you did have the words? He's like, oh, okay, let's see, I'd say, holy crap. And she makes this look like, what? Because he's looking far away, even that guy's up in the building, and he has these binoculars on hand.
Oh, right.
And of course, he comes up with an excuse to leave and take care of the problem. But I always thought that interaction in particular was just freaking funny. It would probably be nice if there was an interaction like that, where Peter just emotes and reacts, and then has to come up with an excuse for why he reacted like that. But sorry, like, I know it seems random, but I'm just thinking back to all the unique dialogue they had back then. He wasn't overly wordy, and when he was wordy, it's just the writers knew how to make the dialogue just seem funny. Plus, Neil Patrick Harris just had great delivery.
Oh, yeah. Which people tend to forget about him.
There was also an episode where Shikata, basically Samurai Lady, like, that's how I sum her up, in that series, she would basically compliment Spider-Man's fighting skills. Like, she'd be all like, good. And then Peter will just say back, no, stupid.
I had to go back and rewatch that series.
This is what I mean when I say he's just got an attitude.
And that's pretty much what we try to implement, as much of that into the series. I can answer to re-answer a previous question. I did say how what characterization does our Peter more or less follow? I say a little bit of Spectacular, a little bit of Steve Ditko, and we could definitely say, I said originally MCU, but then I kind of had to backtrack. I say, a little bit more of the MTV series too, where again he just kind of has this big chip on his shoulder half of the time. Yeah, but all right, I feel we're about at a good stopping point. I'm gonna go get something to eat. So, is there anything else you guys wanted to add before we could call it?
The multiverse thing? Didn't I ask a multiverse question in the last stream? I'm trying to remember what it was. I was trying to cover our tracks for a potential plot hole. What was it about? Shoot, what was it? It's on the tip of my tongue. Because we were trying to cover the lore, I think, on why the portals are affecting which Twilight is interacting with Sunset through the journal or something.
I think we talked about that a little bit. I had to readdress that in a different one, because that's one of those that it can definitely become a plot hole. But I think we did address that, but we'll readdress that. I'll have to write it. I'll write it down so we can definitely just explain that, so we can just have it out there in the open.
Oh, here's a funny little mind breaker for you, Changeling. You know that fanfic you defended that one time? And I'm not saying you were wrong to defend it, but I'm saying funny how it aged after its sequel. The Changeling Future one. Like, what was it?
Spiders and Magic 3.
Oh, yeah.
Like, technically speaking, if you think about it, the Changeling Future is the OG Spiders and Magic timeline. Peter going back in time shouldn't send him back home. That would just create invariant split timeline where he just didn't leave. So that means, for all intents and purposes, everyone really died in the original timeline. I know that's morbid, but it's like something people don't think about when they consider time travel stories. Just think Future Trunks, because in Dragon Ball, Future Trunks, for all intents and purposes, should technically be the original Dragon Ball timeline.
He didn't watch the DBZ, so this one's kind of lost on him.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for the confusion then. It's just... Like, I'm trying not to make it too complicated because time travel in general is usually complicated. But it's easy to follow if you're only using, like, only a few timelines at a time, not like a dozen with a spreadsheet.
Hopefully I could. We won't get to that point, but it will become a big plot. Just one big plot point that's coming up, but we can't say anything about that yet. That'll be down the line. When we do our next Q&A, we'll address that, and we'll probably be doing it around that point. Oh, yeah. All right, gentlemen. This was enjoyable. So let's. All right, thank y'all for joining. This video will get uploaded. We're gonna immediately download it tomorrow, so just to avoid another catastrophe. If not, but thank y'all.
Alright. Thanks for having me.
All right. And